Shalom Mishpatim Shabbos Parshas Shekalim Tavshin Ayin Ches. And this Shabbos we're going to say Birchas HaChodesh for Chodesh Adar. Pretty unbelievable. And the halacha is that the Shabbos before Chodesh Adar we read Parshas Shekalim for Maftir. And this Parshas Shekalim is the first of the four special Parshias that we're going to read that lead us up to Chodesh Nisan. And the first one being this Shabbos for Maftir, we lay in Parshas Shekalim. And the inyan of Shekalim is actually quite interesting. The Pasuk tells us in the Psukim that we read for Parshas Shekalim, Ki Sisas Rosh Bnei Yisrael Ufkudeihem. Parshas Shekalim talks about the counting of Klal Yisrael. If when you will lift up as Rosh Bnei Yisrael Ufkudeihem, V'nosenu ish koifer nafshoy Lashem. Every person gives his koifer nefesh, and the psukim then continue, He'oshir lo yarbeh. If someone has a lot of money, he can't give more. V'hadal, a person who is very poor, lo yamit, he's not allowed to give less, mimachatzis hashekel. Every person that's wealthy, a person that's very well-to-do, a person that's poor, everybody has to give a machzis hashekel. V'hoyo livnei Yisrael l'zikaron livnei Hashem l'chaper al nafshei sechem. And that is the way the parsha ends. The Or Chaim HaKadosh tells us that the lashon of kisisa, the lashon of lifting up, tells us that this giving of shkalim and us being counted is something that is actually uplifting. In other words, the Torah uses the lashon of kisisa, of lifting up, very specifically. And it's telling us it's something that lifts up Klal Yisrael, because at that point, Klal Yisrael were very, very downtrodden. Klal Yisrael was after the Chet HaEgel, and as you know, Ein Muktam U'Mucha BaTorah, that many times things in the Torah that are written are not in the exact chronological order of the way things happen. So now, the Or Chaim HaKadosh tells us this is after the Chet HaEgel, and Klal Yisrael was very down. So now we needed a time of uplifting. We needed to uplift Klal Yisrael. So the Pasuk tells us, Ki Sisas Rosh Bnei Yisrael. Hashem is going to tell us now how we lift ourselves back up. And what is the explanation, asked the Nesivos Shalom? Why is it that this mitzvah of Machzis HaShekel has that uplifting quality? If we need something to lift us up, if Klal Yisrael as a whole was very down at that time, why is it that the mitzvah of Machzis HaShekel was chosen to lift us up? And it would seem that Machzis HaShekel is actually a very, very easy mitzvah. It's a mitzvah where you're just giving a little bit of money. Machzis HaShekel was not a very, very large sum of money. It was actually a pretty small sum. So this uplifting mitzvah, this mitzvah that's going to uplift Klal Yisrael right now, is a mitzvah of Machzis HaShekel. And Machzis HaShekel must be very special if it has the quality, if it has within it something that lifts up the entire Klal Yisrael. And we see that the Pasuk even tells us, the Pasuk uses a lashon of kisisa, of uplifting, when the Torah could have said kisimneh, when you count. If we're actually counting, why do we use a lashon of lifting up? And it says in the Nesivos Shalom, it's showing us that it has an uplifting quality. So the Nesivos Shalom brings from the Noam Elimelech, Noam Elimelech in Parshas Devarim, and it teaches us there that when the Torah says the words Eila hadvarim, and in that pasuk it uses the lashon of El Kol Yisrael to speak the entirety of Klal Yisrael. And when the pasuk says El Kol Yisrael, says the Noam Elimelech, it's letting us know how a person is actually supposed to be Oived Hashem. And being that we know, every person knows, that there is no perfect person in the world. Ein tzadik ba'aretz asher yaseh toiv v'lo yechta. There is no such thing as a perfect person, somebody who does not sin at all. So how is it that we as individuals, how are we able to turn around after one does an Aveira and perform a mitzvah, and many times with the exact same part of your body, with the exact same limb that we may have just used for an Aveira? It is possible that a person could unfortunately be speaking Lashon Hara, and he's using his mouth for things that are usher, and to say things that are usher. He talked bad about another person, and then you want to go ahead and daven. You want to go ahead and learn. You want to go ahead and use that same mouth to do a mitzvah. How is it possible that we're able to do that? It was just used for an Aveira. The Eitzah tells us, the Noam Elimelech, the Eitzah for that, the Eitzah is for each and every person to stop being an individual in this regard. And a person is supposed to look at themselves as a piece of the great entity known as Klal Yisrael. Yes, every person is an individual person, but there are times that we have to put that aside and understand that although it's the way of the 21st century to talk about individuality, and it's a wonderful thing, every person should be unique, every person should be themselves, but there are times that as a Jew we put our individuality aside, and we need to look at ourselves as part of an entity known as Klal Yisrael, because the world of Klal Yisrael, says in Nesivos Shalom, always remains intact. There is no such thing as an Aveira affecting the general entity of Klal Yisrael. Ve'amech kulam tzadikim. Put the words together in a different way. Ve'amech kulam. When we're together as one, when we're one nation, tzadikim. Then we are always known as tzadikim. That is unaffected totally by the acts of each and every individual person. And even though individuals may slip and we may sin at times, but the whole of Klal Yisrael, the entity known as Klal Yisrael, that always remains fully intact. And the Yetzer Hara, the Satan, cannot affect that. Klal Yisrael, he's not able to affect. So when we want to do a mitzvah, and we want to do a mitzvah, and it's possible that we want to do a mitzvah with the same limb that we may have just done in Aveira, you know what we do? We say L'Shem Yichud with what? We say L'Shem Yichud B'Shem Kol Yisrael. That the way we're able to go ahead and do a mitzvah is not with our own schusim, not as our own self. We're coming to you, HaKadosh Baruch Hu, we're doing this mitzvah B'Shem Kol Yisrael because we are a part of the great entity known as Klal Yisrael. And then you can go ahead and do the mitzvah. After the Chet HaEgel, how was it possible that Klal Yisrael can come back and now reconnect ourselves? Klal Yisrael had just done the tremendous sin of the Egel. How is it possible that now we can reconnect ourselves with Hashem? So you know what Hashem gave us, says in Nesivos Shalom? Hashem gave us Parshas Shekalim. Hashem gave us the mitzvah of Machzis HaShekel. The mitzvah of Machzis HaShekel, by definition, with each person giving just a half, not a whole. Every person gives a Machzis HaShekel. It shows that Machzis HaShekel itself is a mitzvah that brings us all together. Once again, we bring ourselves together as a Klal Yisrael. Every person's Machzis HaShekel makes them part of the whole entity, the whole unit known as Klal Yisrael. Chazal tell us in Pirkei Avos Perek Beis, Al tihi rasha bifnei atzmacha. The Pashut Pshat in the Mishnah is, that a person should never think that they themselves are so bad. You should never think that you're bad. Don't think that you are rasha in your eyes. Now listen to this beautiful Pshat that the Nesivos Shalom says, how we could read, Al tihi rasha bifnei atzmacha. We can say and we can read the words as follows, that even if you are a rasha, chas v'shalom, even if you did do averos, and every person does averos, at least don't be bifnei atzmacha. Al tihi rasha bifnei atzmacha. Don't think of yourself as an individual person. It's me, I'm something. No, if you did something wrong, al tihi rasha bifnei atzmacha. Don't try to stand on your own. Don't be alone. Connect yourself to Klal Yisrael. Because Klal Yisrael is never affected by an individual person's averos. And that is also why the Torah tells us, He'oshir lo yarbeh, v'hadal lo yamit. Everyone, even somebody who is extremely poor, Chazal tell us, and the halacha is, that even a person who has no money, a person sells their meager possessions to do this mitzvah of machzitz hashekel. It's one of the mitzvahs. It comes up a few times. We know with Arba Kaises, the Rambam, the halacha talks about in other places too. But machzitz hashekel is one of those mitzvahs that if you don't have enough money, whatever meager possessions you may have, you have to sell those possessions to acquire machzitz hashekel. Why? Because machzitz hashekel reconnects you with all your fellow brethren and reconnects you with all other Jews in the world. And it is the Eitzah to return us to our roots. Come back to Klal Yisrael. You become part of the whole once again. The entity that always remains intact. And therefore the Torah says a lashon of kisisa. When you're going to lift yourself up, it is uplifting. Because being part of Klal Yisrael has a very real uplifting effect. Because a person who may have just done an Aveira, and you would think that you're on the outs with Hashem right now, that you're on the outside, or by a person becoming one with everybody around him, with Klal Yisrael, it has a tremendous uplifting effect. It accepts you back into the group, into that special group known as your fellow Jews, as your fellow Yidden in Klal Yisrael. And it's not just about being counted. It's about, by the counting, it's about being uplifted. And really, this is a lesson for everybody. We're coming now to Chodesh Adar, B'et Hashem. We're going to bench for Chodesh Adar. We're coming to a very, very happy month of B'et Hashem. Mishnichnas Adar, Marbim B'Simcha. And a person has to know that part of the simcha is that we're zoicha and we're, Baruch Hashem, we're able to consider ourselves as the nation of HaKadosh Baruch Hu. But a nation means that you have to understand that you have to put aside your own wants and your own desires and your own thinking sometimes and be part of the group. Understand that not only is it a safety net, but it has a very uplifting effect on each and every person to understand that we have to be there for each other. Because if we're part of one unit, if we're part of one entity, then your entire life cannot be about me, myself, I, what's in it for me. We have to know that we are responsible one for each other. And this is the parsha of Machzis HaShekel. Each one of us is only half. We need to reconnect, to connect with everybody around us. And Shetaka be a month of Simcha. Mishenichnas Adar Marbim B'Simcha.